Today we have ex-NFL star quarterback Brett Farve, who allegedly was part of the biggest fraud and embezzlement scheme in Mississippi's history, which $77 million was funneled away from a program for needy families into other ventures. In May 2020, Mississippi's state auditor announced that the Department of Human Services had wasted tens of millions of dollars in federal money meant to be used to help needy families. Since then, the investigation into those misspent funds has expanded to include state officials, bureaucrats, and celebrity sports figures, including retired NFL quarterback Brett Farve. 6 people have faced criminal charges, and back-and-forth legal filings in an ongoing civil lawsuit have led to the publication of eye-opening private text messages. The tens of millions of dollars in federal welfare funds was wasted through misspending, personal use, and spending on family members, friends of staffers and grantees. The 8-month-long investigation showed that the department gave more than $98 million to 2 nonprofits, the Mississippi Community Education Center and the Family Resource Center of North Mississippi. Of the $98 million, $94 million was questioned, meaning it was either definitively misspent or auditors were unable to determine if it was legally spent. Most of the money came from the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, a federal program that gives grant funding to states, which are then supposed to use the money to help low-income families with children. A follow-up audit conducted by an accounting firm in Maryland found that more than $77 million was improperly used from the state's welfare program through the nonprofits, including spending on expensive cars, a private school, and pet projects of celebrities and the politically connected. 2 years ago my office audited DHS, White said in a statement in October 2021. After 2 years of work, we found tens of millions of dollars in misspending. Those findings have now been confirmed, this month, by an independent forensic audit commissioned by DHS. One of the recipients of these funds was Brett Farve, the Hall of Fame quarterback and Mississippi native. According to the audit, the Mississippi Community Education Center directly paid him $1.1 million in TANF funds for promotional ads and speaking appearances that the state auditor said never occurred. Farve returned $500,000 in May 2020 and repaid the remaining $600,000 in October 2021 after the state auditor issued a demand letter for it, according to the auditor's office. But the auditor's office maintains Farve still owes $228,000 in interest payments. Farve has said he had been asking the state for funds to build a new volleyball stadium at the University of Southern Mississippi, where he played football from 1987 to 90 and his daughter played volleyball from 2017 to 2022. The media outlet Mississippi Today, which has covered the scheme for several years, has reported that at least $5 million of the welfare funds were channeled to the new facility. In a statement last week, Farve denied wrongdoing and said he did not know that the funding was supposed to go toward needy families. "No one ever told me, and I did not know, that funds designated for welfare recipients were going to the university or me," he said. "I tried to help my alma mater, the University of Southern Mississippi, a public Mississippi State University, raise funds for a wellness center. My goal was and always will be to improve the athletic facilities at my university." In the wake of the audits, 6 people were charged with wrongdoing and 5 have pleaded guilty. John Davis, 54, the former director of the Mississippi Department of Human Services, pleaded guilty to 2 federal counts and 18 state counts. Nancy New, the founder of the nonprofit Mississippi Community Education Center, pleaded guilty to charges of bribery, fraud, mail fraud, and racketeering. Zach New, her son, an assistant executive director of Center, pleaded guilty to bribery, fraud, and mail fraud. Ann McGrew, an accountant for the Center, pleaded guilty to conspiracy. Brett DiBiase, a former professional wrestler who received needy family funds for fake work, pleaded guilty to making fraudulent statements. In addition, Mississippi Department of Human Services brought a civil lawsuit against more than 35 people and entities, including Farve and the Mississippi Community Education Center, to recover some of the funds. Keep in mind, Mississippi is the poorest state in the country, and has been for many years now, and we wonder why. That lawsuit and its ongoing legal filings have revealed several private text messages between Farve, former Governor Phil Bryant, and other figures involved. For example, in an August 2017 conversation, Farve wrote to Nancy New, the founder of the nonprofit MCEC, about his concerns about media publicity. If you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much? Farve wrote. No, we never have had that information publicized, New said. The next day, New texted Farve with an update. Wow, just got off the phone with Phil Bryant. He is on board with us. We will get this done. Other texts show Bryant worked to help Farve obtain funds. Just left Brett Farve. Can we help him with his project? Bryant wrote to New in a July 2019 message. We should meet soon to see how I can make sure we keep your projects on course. Those texts were included in a legal filing from New as part of a motion to compel Bryant to produce further documents. In a statement, Bryant's attorney William M. Quinn II said those documents are privileged. Other text messages dating to July 2019 show Farve texted Bryant numerous times asking if the funding for the volleyball complex would be secured. Bryant warned that proper approval was needed. Use of these funds is tightly controlled. Any improper use could result in violation of federal law, Bryant texted to Farve on July 28, 2019, according to the filing. As soon as we get approval, we can move forward. Without that approval, any expenditure could be illegal and Nancy and USM could be made to repay the federal government any and all funds spent, the then governor added, according to the filing. Farve, however, continued to press the governor, texting him again on September 4, 2019, about the need for funding for the facility. We obviously need your help big time and time is working against us. And we feel that your name is the perfect choice for this facility, and we are not taking no for an answer. You are a Southern Miss alumni, and folks need to know you are also a supporter of the university, Farve texted the governor, according to the filing. Bryant responded, we are going to get there. This was a great meeting. But we have to follow the law. I am too old for federal prison. Smiley face, sunglasses emoji, according to the filing. In October of 2017, funding for the volleyball facility begins using federal dollars. New commits $5 million to Southern Mississippi Athletic Foundation to rent all athletic facilities in a 5-year lease agreement. Because TANF funds weren't permitted to be used for brick-and-mortar construction, the parties craft an agreement to satisfy federal law. As part of the deal, the foundation would use the facility, called the Wellness Center, for programs to help needy families. One former employee said the facility was never used for that. The $5 million commitment is the biggest known single expenditure within the misspent $77 million. News MCEC pays the first lump sum of $2.5 million to USM in November, with another $2.5 million to follow in December. Farve was paid under an agreement to advertise for the welfare program $500,000 in 2017 and $600,000 in June of 2018, which he never did, and with that money expected to go toward the volleyball project. Farve, who became involved with a biomedical startup called Prevacus in 2014, advised the company's founder, Jacob Van Landingham, to reach out to Governor Bryant via text for support. Farve wrote, "Don't know if legal or not, but we need to cut him in." Later texts show that Bryant used his political clout to help get the startup off the ground by finding investors and gaining favor with federal regulators, and was offered stock upon his departure from the governor position in 2020. Bryant denies ever accepting the stock. Out of $135 million in federal aid from the TANF program in 2018, Mississippi spent just 5%, $7.3 million, on direct cash assistance to poor families. In the same year, Human Services gave $44 million of those funds to MCEC and another nonprofit. Still needing more money to finish the volleyball center, Farve reaches out hoping to meet with Davis and Bryant about more funding. In a separate meeting with Van Landingham, Farve and New, the parties agree to direct grant funding to Prevacus toward its development of an anti-concussion treatment. A payment of $750,000 was sent to Prevacus on January 18, though a $1.7 million contract between MCEC and Prevacus wasn't signed until the next day. Davis, the director of the Mississippi Department of Human Services who directed money to Nancy New, retires early after 28 years with the agency. Behind the scenes, he'd been ousted by Governor Bryant after a Human Services employee came forward with a tip about suspected fraud. Bryant appointed former FBI special agent in charge, Christopher Freeze, to take Davis' place. When Farve inquires how Davis' departure might impact the volleyball facility, Bryant texts back, "I will handle that, long story, but had to make a change. But I will call Nancy and see what it will take." State Auditor Shad White announces that former Director of Human Services John Davis and nonprofit officials conspired to embezzle millions of dollars meant for services to poor Mississippians. Davis and colleague Latimer Smith are arrested, as are MCEC employees Nancy New, Zach New and McGrew, the employees who were directing federal money inappropriately, as well as retired pro wrestler Brett DiBiase. The funds that were illegally obtained in this case were intended to help the poorest among us, White said. The funds were instead taken by a group of influential people for their own benefit, and the scheme is massive. It ends today. Davis and Smith are accused of manufacturing documents to funnel money to DiBiase from TANF. The invoices indicated the money compensated DiBiase for teaching classes about drug abuse, but DiBiase was in a luxury rehab facility for his own drug use in Malibu, California, and did not perform the services. Nancy New and son Zach New were further accused of using TANF money to pay for personal investments in medical device companies in Florida. A report from Mississippi Today reveals that $5 million in cash from the MCEC was used in the construction of the volleyball facility. Bryant, the former governor, cuts ties with Prevacus following the arrests. In March of 2020, Farve denies that he discussed the volleyball center with Bryant in a text to Mississippi Today. In May, an audit reveals that $1.1 million has been paid to Farve Enterprises for speaking events in which he did not show, and the state ordered him to repay the misappropriated funds. Farve makes an initial payment of $500,000, but the Office of Auditor Shad White says Farve still owes an additional $600,000. White says there is no indication Farve knew the money he was receiving was meant for helping needy residents and applauded Farve's offer to pay it back. Upon a cursory review of those dates, auditors were able to determine that the individual contracted did not speak nor was he present for those events. Farve denies that he was a no-show at the speaking events. In April of 2022, Zach New admits in a plea agreement to defrauding the government when he participated in a scheme to disguise the brick-and-mortar construction of the volleyball facility as a lease. Nancy New pleads guilty to 4 counts of bribing a public official, 2 counts of fraud against the government, 6 counts of wire fraud and racketeering. Zach pled guilty to many of the same charges, and both agreed to cooperate with prosecutors and testify against co-defendants, thus leading to many of the unearthed texts. Farve is sued by the Mississippi Human Services Department asking for a judgment of $3.2 million against Farve, $1.1 million against Farve Enterprises and more against Prevacus and its founder. The dollar figures include damages and additional awards for legal fees. The Mississippi Department of Human Services revises its demands against Brett Farve in its lawsuit against the quarterback, acknowledging that he paid the $1.1 million for unfulfilled public speeches. But the lawsuit now asks for up to $5 million from Farve and a university sports foundation, the money improperly channeled into the volleyball facility at the University of Southern Mississippi. Text messages between Farve and new Governor Tate Reeves are turned over to the Mississippi Free Press through an open records request. They show that Farve asked Reeves in 2020 about state funds to further pay for the volleyball facility. Farve still owed $1.6 million he had pledged once the facility was completed in early 2020. As of today, Brett Farve is still on the hook for the interest on the money he received from this welfare scam. If you like this video, please hit the like button, comment and subscribe to the channel.